Well, it seems to me that the idea here is to connect with divinity.
Yes,
Okay, and as I understand divinity, is that divinity only exists in the now moment, in the present,
that's
not in
right.
the past, not in the future. And so, if
That's
I'm
right.
going in either of those directions, I'm not going to be able to get what I'm after at all.
That's right. So thinking about what your next move is, trying to figure out if your partner likes it, all of that stuff has to go away.
Right. Got to. It has to block the whole
Yeah.
process. Well, that
Yeah.
that in itself is quite a learning process. There's some.
Well, that's where the surrender is.
Yeah, because we're really habituated, or at
Oh,
least
yeah.
you know.
We're very performance oriented. Our whole culture's model for sex is performance oriented.
Right. Absolutely.
And it screws everybody. I work with couples that have been together a long time and also older couples. And the men may have liked the performance model in their younger years, but it's not working for them as they age either.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I love it because as we all age, men and women have much better opportunities of working with this and coming together in time and place so that it's really more about what they want to create as opposed to some, porn script that they'd be running.
Right, or some need to procreate. That
Yeah.
that part is pretty well
Well,
gone.
procreative sex can be actually pretty magical if you are fully present in the moment. But
Yeah, well, and I think that's the key, isn't it? Being
when
present.
you know you're bringing in a being from spirit into the world, it's an amazing high. I've had that experience where I knew I was conceiving in the moment of conceiving, and I wouldn't knock that.
Well, I'm not, I'm not at all. And I see that for a woman. What I was talking about is at that stage, the testosterone is running pretty high in a male's
Right, right,
body,
right,
and that kind of like changes the
right.
whole thing, the whole idea of any kind of, uh, uh, yeah, we,
Yeah, it's very driven. It's like, okay, let's get it on and get off, and um, there's nothing wrong with it. It just isn't going to
yeah,
take
no.
you.
As a matter of fact, I think sometimes that's like a pretty satisfying thing if both people
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
if that's what
If
you're
that
looking for.
hey, we're just going to have a nice time and that's it. Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that you talk about in your therapy treatment model is that it resembles a shamanic journey,
Hmm.
and that reframing is a big part of that. Tell us what you mean by shamanic journey and how you use reframing in that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually am working with a teacher myself who is a shaman,
Aha.
and a
Male
lot
or
of
male
what
or
I learn is informs my work. So it's
is
kind
that
of my
are you working with a male or a female?
a male, believe
Okay.
it or not, a male. Yeah, and he's a very balanced in his masculine, feminine, and I totally trust the work I do. So
Right.
um, it surprised me too because I work a lot with the goddess, and I have groups that I do with women and so on. So this is in a way a nice balance for me.
Sure.
But shamanic journey, I'm not going to do a great job in describing it because
Yeah, just do the best you can. And,
yeah, it's really what I said, and it's transformational experiences where you go into deep. Um, Deep dimensional place. You're both fully present and you're also on many dimensions, and you have experiences. Things come and go. You sort of let them go, but it's like a journey. But it's your own experiences that are coming, and you're allowing yourself to recognize, whether it's past issues or a new awareness of the universe or whatever it is. You're basically allowing yourself to have experiences, surrendering to the feminine, which is the unconscious.
right.
And as you,
And when you say that, you're talking about both male and female surrendering to the
oh yeah,
feminine. Yes.
oh absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, yeah. Journeying is it's hard to describe, but essentially you're taking yourself out of the physical world into more dimensional world.
Right.
And you can use drumming, you can use all kinds of ways that people allow themselves to go in there. But what happens when you consciously choose it, and then when you're through the journey, you integrate it into your life. To me, relationships really are an ultimate journey because things will happen, and you work with them, and you come from your highest self, and you keep working.
Right. And it does take work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
It
does.
takes
But
desire.
people groan when I say that, and you can make it hard by resisting,
Right.
or you can just go in with telling the truth, getting present, being able to say what's going on right right now inside of you, being fully present to that. Most of us in relationships have a hard time saying, okay, here's what's coming up for me at this moment. We want to point the finger or tell the other person what we think of them rather than reveal more about ourselves.
Well, and I think that's where the whole idea of work comes in, because
Yes.
because it's not really work. It's about what you talked about earlier, and that's about reframing this whole thing.
It's personal self-disclosure.
Right.
And the only thing about reframing, this is one of the things I teach a lot in communication skills, is if you are saying it from a critical voice,
Right.
This doesn't work for me because you do blah, blah. It's not going to come across in any way that's going to be useful to either person, because the other person will get defensive.
And that goes for everything in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
a firm believer in teaching communication skills, and all of them have to do with how to minimize the defensiveness of the person you want to communicate with.
Well, certainly the sexual encounter is about communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally
Absolutely.
about communication.
It's about being fully present and able to move with or say what needs to be said in the moment.
Right.
And that's not easy to do. It's easy when we get together in the beginning because we're on a kind of brain high, literally. We've got dopamine, norepinephrine firing in our brains. And so we have those flowy experiences where, you come up for air and wonder who was who,
Yeah, exactly. You've
Yeah,
just
the
merged.
dilemma in those early sexual experiences, which for a lot of us are like, wow, I'd really like to have that in my long-term relationship, is that it is based on literally ecstatic brain chemistry that doesn't last.
So your inner pharmacy is kind of taking care of all that for you.
Yes, exactly. And even then, for some couples, that doesn't ever quite work for them. But
Right.
It's similar to learning a practice of meditation. You can have an amazing experience sometime out in the desert, and then to begin to track back to that experience, you're going to have to develop some skill and some discipline and kind of get there a little more consciously. The gift is the early experience, and then you're going to have to figure out a way back to that. And that's what I teach. I teach a lot about how do you move into a space where you can, with yourself fully present now, not that you're kind of imagining this person, because when we meet somebody, we project their ideal.
Right.
Once we've been with somebody a long time, we know all their flaws, and that's where the work is shedding that at the times that you want to move into sacred space and have a spiritual sex experience.
Well, not only do we know their flaws, but so often that couples are bound in that power struggle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of the work I do when I'm working with couples. That one is a fairly lower chakra issue, and
right.
What I teach is, I work with each of the chakras as far as the psychological significance. And when couples can learn how to move from the heart level, which isn't the ultimate. I mean, the ultimate is, you're in the crown or the third eye. But
right.
Once they learn how to shift into that, then they can begin the practice.
So it sounds to me. Let me ask you this question: the people who come to you, is it normally the woman who comes to you first?
It's all different.
So there's no real
lack of sex will compel men to want to get into sex therapy. I'm a psychologist, by the way, and a marriage and family therapist. So people
right.
come to me for a lot of different things, but I'm known for the specialty. But they will look me up, and I'm all over the internet, so they'll find, okay, she's a sex therapist. And so often men are very motivated.
I'll bet, yeah.
The classic lack of desire issue. But I also see the reverse, where the man has lost his desire and the woman is really upset with it.
Right.
So it's really, women tend to utilize therapy more as a rule. But when you're working with this modality, I see both men and women motivated.
Not only do women tend to seek therapy more readily than men, but I've observed that as far as spirituality is concerned, women are certainly there first. Yes. and in larger numbers.
Yes. When I talk about spiritual sex in audiences, women will say, where are the men
right.
who want
Exactly.
to do this? Where are the guys who want to do this? And I thank goodness there is a good community. I see some beautiful men out here in California anyway,
right.
who are into spiritual seeking. And once they can detach a little bit from, it's very impressive. Men get aroused very quickly. They have 10 times more testosterone. So the genitals tend to take all their attention.
Right.
And to teach them, and Tantra and some of the other spiritual sex traditions do this, to move away from that and actually move the energy through your body. You know, you were talking about will earlier. You have to utilize some will, because
Absolutely.
otherwise you